Update Decision 2016, brought to you by General Air Conditioning and Plumbing and the law offices of Jeffrey A. Weaver.
Good evening. Welcome to KMIR's Decision 2016 coverage. I'm Gino Lamont. Now, the polls are still open here in California, and you still have time to get out and cast your ballot. KMIR's Kitty Alvarado is in Palm Desert with a look at how the voting is going there. Kitty, good evening.
Good evening, Gino. You know, they tell me that they've had a huge voter turnout here at the Palm Desert Community Center. They tell me this morning was especially busy, but if you take a look behind me, you could see that they've been consistent all day long. Occasionally, they even run out of booths, and people just voting wherever they can on some of the benches here next to the voting booths. They tell me voting has been taking a little longer than usual, up to 45 minutes because of those propositions. They say a good idea is to fill those out at home and bring them here, use a little cheat sheet, because some people, they say, are taking up to an hour to vote on those propositions, and some of those no means yes and yes means no, so it can be confusing. But they say voter turnout has been great, and that's to be expected because over 1 million people are now registered here in Riverside County. And again, it's been a great, consistent day. They're also expecting another rush as people are getting off of work, but they say the more the merrier. Democracy alive and well here in Palm Desert. And one more thing, an added bonus, so to speak. Nothing but Cakes is giving a little sweet treat to all of the people that have voted. So come on out and vote here in Palm Desert. You get a little treat to go with your vote. Reporting live from Palm Desert, Kitty Alvarado, KMIR News.
All right, Kitty, thank you for that. And Kitty mentioned that one of the things that's taking voters longer is the extensive propositions, measures on the ballot this year. We have an entire booklet that's been made out for us just to try to keep track of it. Hank Plants, KMIR News, political analyst, and you've been trying to keep track of these as well, and they're confusing.
17 propositions, $473 million has been spent in California, a lot of it on KMIR-TV advertising, on these 17 propositions. Just to put that number in perspective, $473 million is twice as much as Donald Trump has raised for his entire presidential campaign, and that's just on our ballot prop.
All right, let's go through some of the bigger ones. Yeah. We'll start actually initially with some of the races. 36th District, Ruiz, the early favorite.
Yeah, Ruiz is, the smart money's on Ruiz to beat Jeff Stone. They're both popular politicians, but Ruiz, you know, it's very hard to beat an incumbent. Right. And Ruiz had a lot of money for this race from the party.
And then as far as U.S. Senate, again, Kamala Harris, obviously the early favorite, Loretta Sanchez, running a fairly distant second at this point.
Harris was the inside favorite, and she had the blessing of so many political insiders from Governor Jerry Brown on down, and she really had this in the bag for a long time.
All right, let's go through some measures real quickly here. Prop 64, the marijuana measure, legalization, what do you think, yes or no?
Yes, it's going to pass. It's been way up. It'll bring $1 billion into the state coffers, they estimate, in the tax. It'll have interesting implications on society, but I think it will pass.
Right, and one of the more confusing props was 62 and 64. Now, 62 would abolish the death penalty, but 64 would change the death penalty.
66.
66,
yeah. Right. 62 would abolish the death penalty. 66 would keep the death penalty, but make it more efficient. It would shorten the time between sentencing.
And then, of course, the question is if they both pass.
Right, whichever one gets the most votes wins. What's uncertain right now is neither one appears to have, if you look at the polls going into today, neither one appeared to have the majority of votes that it support, that it needs to pass. And so we might get neither one. We might be just stuck with the current situation that we have right now.
All right. KMIR News political analyst Hank Plant, thank you as always, sir. Hank and I will be on live on KMIR Facebook in the next 30 minutes. We'll be talking about all the propositions. So if you really want to nerd out, join me and Hank live on KMIR Facebook page. We'll be back here in half an hour with an update on all the local elections, races, the national stuff. It's a big night. Stay with KMIR News.